Welcome to the Living Sepharadic Heritage Series. When we think of great Rabbanim, the great Chachamim, the great rabbis that have lived throughout Jewish history, thoughts like the Rambam pop up, the great Nachmanides, Maimonides, the Ariya Kadosh, the Rosh, the Maharam Rothenburg, the great Rishonim, the first rabbis, the great rabbis who wrote the Gemara, the Talmud, Ravina, Rav Ashi, the Tanaim, Rabbi Yehuda Anasi, Rabbi Akiva, and even before that, the Shoftim, the Nevi'im, the Melachim, David HaMelech, Shlomo HaMelech, until we get to Moshe Rabbeinu. But unfortunately, not much is known about the later Rabbanim, the later Ravs, who passed down the Torah to us. Those are called the Achronim. One of the great Sephardic luminaries that stands out more than anyone, in my eyes, was the great Rabbi Shalom Mizrahi Didia Sharabi, otherwise known in his acronym as the RASHASH Kadosh. In Judaism, we only have three rabbis that we call Kadosh. We have Rabbeinu HaKadosh, the Orach Chaim HaKadosh, and the Ariya Kadosh. I would like to say that there is a fourth. The fourth regel to the Merkava, the fourth foot to the chariot, the fourth Rav that is known as the Kadosh is the RASHASH HaKadosh, Rabbeinu Shalom Sharabi. Who was he? Rabbi Shalom Sharabi, he lived in a small town called Sharab in Yemen. While he was there, his father Yitzchak, he passed away at a very young age. He was in his 30s, and the young Shalom, he had to learn with tutors, with people who took in the young orphan. And for a living, he would go a couple hours a day selling trinkets, spices from house to house. And he would go from town to town, city to city, reading Tehillim as he would pass by all the marketplaces. One day, he was in his late teens. Different sources put him as 18, some say 20. He was in his youth, in his strength, and he was Yefeh Torah, Yefeh Mareh. He looked good, he had countenance. And he was passing by the rich Arabic neighborhood in Sharab. And from the window, a very, very rich Arab lady, the wife of one of the sheikhs, she called him up. "Hey, Jew boy, come here, I want to see what you're selling." He didn't know what her intentions really were. And just as Yosef HaTzadik, he went inside to do his melach, to do his work. The young Shalom went inside, and she said, "Put your schora, your merchandise on the bed. Spread it out." He spreads out the merchandise. Before he knew it, she locked the door. And she said, "That's not what I meant. You know what I really want." The young Shalom was looking at her and he was dumbfounded. He didn't know what to do. And he said, "Can I please use the lavatory?" And he went to the bathroom. It was on the 3rd floor. Now these floors were not just regular floors like we have today. Every floor was the size of a regular house. So he went up 3 floors to use the lavatory. But it was really like going up 6 floors. He opened up the window and he said, "Hashem, I'm not going to do the sin. I'd rather give up my life. Please, I'm going to jump now. If I live, if I stand on my 2 feet when I jump, I make a neder that I'm going to Eretz Yisrael. I'm not taking anything. I'm just going to pick up my 2 feet and go to Eretz Yisrael." He opens up that window and he jumps. He gets up on his 2 feet, not one broken bone, and he runs all the way. He leaves his house, he leaves his family. The Arab lady, waiting for him. She came up to the bathroom, she opened up the door and she saw the window was open and she couldn't believe it. The young boy just jumped out of the window, just not to do an Averah, and it was a big Kiddush Hashem. But he never came back and he never looked back. He ran away to the edges of the country of Yemen, and over there in the port city called Eden, he took a boat to Bombay. Back then it was called Bombay, today it's called Mumbai. He went all the way to India, and over there the young Shalom Sharabi was working as a guy who took one person, as a modern day Uber driver. He was taking people from one end with a horse and buggy to another end of the town. And over there he was employed by one of the richest men who had a lineage of families of billionaires, Shalom Farhi. One day the young Shalom Sharabi was on the horse and buggy, he was the wagon driver, and he was thinking of holy thoughts, and he lost control of the horse. They almost fell off a cliff. Shaul Farhi, the multi-millionaire businessman, comes out of the carriage. He said, "You stupid young man, don't you even know how to run a horse, how to hold the reins of a horse?" He takes his hand and the young RASHASH slaps him across the face. The young RASHASH didn't say a word. He just kept on doing his work. Many years later, when Rabbi Shalom Sharabi, the RASHASH, would be the greatest luminary in Yerushalayim, Rosh Yeshivat Bet El, none other than Shalom Farhi came to kiss the rabbi's hands, Erev Sukkot, to see the Rebbe in the Sukkot time, the Rosh Yeshiva of Bet El. And who does he see? Lo and behold, the Rosh Yeshiva of Bet El is who? The same wagon driver that he smacked as a young man. He went down on his feet and cried, "Please forgive me, Chacham. I didn't mean to smack you like that. I didn't know who you were, who you could have been." He said, "Believe me or not, I didn't hold a grudge even for 1 second." That was the young RASHASH. Rabbi Shalom Sharabi left Bombay. He made his way to Iraq, to Basra, and then to Bavel. Inside Iraq, he stopped by the yeshiva of Sheikh Yitzhak, one of the Geonim. The Ben Ish Chai, Rabbeinu Yosef Chaim of Baghdad, said, if the Iraqi rabbis knew who was walking amongst them, they would have chained his legs to Iraq, that never let him leave. That's how great, if they would have known who was walking amongst them. The great RASHASH. We have a Masoret, a tradition, from Rebbe to student, that the RASHASH was the Gilgul, the reincarnation of none other than the Ari HaKadosh. The Ari said to his students, if you guys have a zchut, I'll come to you one more time. They didn't know what he meant in a dream, in life, but he meant in a reincarnation. The great Mikubal, the Sadeh, Rabbi Shaul Haim Duek HaKohen, said that the RASHASH was the Gilgul of none other than the Ari HaKadosh. The young RASHASH, he leaves Iraq. And while he was in Iraq, there was one small story that the elders of Iraq say, that while he was there, they were learning Zohar. And he was learning with them. He was in the side. Nobody knew who he was, what he did. He just saw some Yemenite, small Yemenite Jew. He was in his mid-20s, passing by. He worked as a cleaner. That's the beauty of these Chachamim. They never looked for the kavod. They never looked for the honor. They never looked to be great. What they looked for was just the Dvekut Hashem. While they were reading the Zohar, they get to the parasha of Balak. And in the parasha of Balak, there is a sentence, V'ko tedaber, and so I will speak. God says, I will speak in your mouth. The Shekhinah, the divine presence, says to Bilam, I will speak, not you. You think you're going to speak. And while he was reading that sentence, he was crying, V'ko! Then the rabbi said, why are you crying? Why are you going crazy when you say the word? He said in Arabic, the Ko, Hashem, is ripping in my heart. He made his way to Damascus, and from Damascus he went to Eretz Yisrael. In Eretz Yisrael, he was employed by the Rosh Yeshiva of Bet El, Rav Gedalia Chayun. Rav Gedalia Chayun was, he himself there, it's worthy to make a whole shiur on who he was, the founder of the Yeshiva of Bet El. And he asked Rav Gedalia, can I please work as a shamash? He didn't know who he was. He didn't know that in this man's mind is going to be the future mefarish of the commentary on all the Ari HaKadosh. Without him, nobody knows what the Ari means. There's a famous saying about the Kerem Shlomo of Salman Eliyahu, the father of the Rishon LeZion of Mordechai Eliyahu, Zecher Tzadik Kadosh V'Livracha. He says, person learns the Ari, he thinks he understood. He opens up the RASHASH and he understood that he didn't understand anything. When he got to Bet El, he worked as a shamash. Hence his commentary on the Etz HaChaim of the Ari HaKadosh. HaShamash. What's a shamash? The cleaner, the wiper, the guy who brought coffee to the rabbis. While he was in the yeshiva, the rabbis had a very tough time understanding. And one day the RASHASH writes the answer and puts it in the rabbi's book. One day after another, the rabbis are dancing. Eliyahu Hanavi came, the prophet Elijah came, wrote the answers in the book. Until the daughter of the Rav, Chana her name was, and she saw the young Shalom putting the answers in the book. She outed him out. Rav Gedalia Chayun didn't waste a second. He took off his coat, took off his hat, and he put it on the young Rashash. And the Rashash became, as a from a nobody, Shalom Mizrahi Didia Sharabi, to the great Rabbi Shalom Sharabi. And he married Chana. How the Rashash passed away? Of course, we could say so much more about the Rashash. How did he pass away? The Rashash had two students. Both's name were Chaim. One was the Chida, Rabbi Chaim Yosef David Azulai, one of the other great Sepharadic luminaries, and the other one was Rav Chaim de la Rosa. There is an old legend that says, till today we know where this room is, in Yerushalayim. All three of them were sitting together and doing yichudim, special meditations to bring the Mashiach. And they almost were able to open the pargod, the curtain that opens up the tefillot. And in Shamayim they said, and under the room there was a river, a small well flowing with a small river called Mei Gichon, and they were dipping over there and doing yichudim. And in Shamayim they said, you guys are trying to bring Mashiach and not in its right time. And because of that, all three of you are going to be punished. One of you will die, the other one of you will go into exile, and the other one of you will live a very poor life. That year, Rabbeinu Shalom Sharabi passed away. Reb Chaim, the Chida Kadosh, went into exile, as we know from his book Ma'agal Tov. And the third Rav, Chaim de la Rosa, which was the number one commentary on the Rashash. They say you can't understand the Ari until you learn the Rashash, but you don't understand the Rashash until you learn the Torah Chacham. But unfortunately, since he was, I wouldn't say cursed, but decreed upon to be poor, nobody could understand his book, the Torah Chacham. The Rashash passed away that year, but not before leaving us with a wealth of knowledge, the Rechovot HaNahar and the Etz HaChaim. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to light a candle this Tuesday night. LeZecher Rabbi Shalom Sharabi ben Rabbi Yitzchak.